What's up, everybody? Welcome in. I'm recording this late at night, just coming off the News Nation piece that I just did with Brian Enton and some other YouTubers about Gannon Stauch's autopsy photos that have been bought as part of a Freedom of Information Act request and sold behind a paywall by other YouTubers. I've seen some videos come out about this. I've seen the outrage. I don't like to get into arguments or fights over the internet and things like that, but I felt like I needed to make this video today. I looked into this more to see how it's possible that something like this could happen, what the repercussions are, how we can stop this from happening again. And so I think it's important for us to just talk about it. I'm going to do a video on it. You can get the information, spread the word about what the law actually is and how it should be followed. Because like anything else, something very good, like a Freedom of Information Act, public documents being able to be accessed by the public. Those are good things. Those are things we need in our country. We want access to the courtroom, cameras, microphones, whatever it may be, so that we can know what's going on in our country, in our state, in our city, in our justice system, in our government. And that is incredibly important. But something good can become evil when people misuse it and abuse it. And we talk about that all the time with media and with access to the courts. And this is no different than that. This is a good thing that someone used for evil. And there are laws in place that should protect against this. And we're going to talk about some of them today. We're going to talk about the potential remedies the Stauch family has legally, because that's what we do on this show. We talk about the legal angles. We talk about the law. We talk about the justice system. And this is a case where this family has been so victimized that it just seems unbearable that something like this would happen to them. So when we talk about how something like this can happen, and I heard the prosecutor on Brian Enton's show last night say maybe they need to change the laws in Florida. And if what he was surmising was correct, I agree with him. The only thing is, we already did this in Florida. There is a law specifically in place that makes an exception to the Freedom of Information Act regarding autopsy photos. And it doesn't just stop there. It's almost like this was written for Gannon Stauch's case, because it specifically was the intent of the legislature when writing this law to protect victims and their families, specifically minors who were deceased as a result of domestic violence. So in Florida, it's a very liberal sunshine law where you have access to these public documents. You put in a request, you send a check, you get the documents. But autopsy photos are specifically excluded from that. And they can only be requested and provided under an exception to that rule. And really only to the deceased parents or close family members, with a court order sometimes. So this should not happen. So the question begs, how did it happen? So many times, and I've talked to journalists and reporters and other YouTubers and true crime people that order these documents, that do these requests. And what happens sometimes is when somebody requests the entire file, the custodian of records, instead of pulling out the photos and doing their job to look through it, they send the whole file when they get the check. And sometimes pictures like this end up in a file that's released. And that seems horrible to me, and that doesn't seem okay, and it seems like we should do something about that. Well, the law in Florida, under this rule, which explains the exception, talking about these autopsy photos, actually puts in there that this could be a third-degree felony for that custodian of records, up to 5 years in prison. But in order for that to happen, the violation of this law, turning over these autopsy photos when they shouldn't, has to be willing and knowing. So they basically have to do it on purpose. There's no crime for negligence here. However, negligence is usually meant for the civil courtroom. And I think this is absolutely potentially a negligent infliction of emotional distress. We've gotten to know a lot about that with the Gabby Petito case here in Florida that we've been covering. But this was a major mistake by whoever put these pictures in a file and sent them out to YouTubers. What about the YouTubers? Well, there are some more complicated ways to sue them: name, image, likeness. We all heard this on, when we were dealing with college athletes getting paid to use their face in video games and put it on pictures. And now we're paying college athletes the NIL deals: name, image, likeness, profiting off of somebody else's name, image, and likeness. We just talked about it in the Corey Richins case, where she wrote the book about her deceased husband, that she is being charged with that crime. And sure, they could go that route, potentially collect the profits that were made off of the Patreon and whatever behind a paywall for these pictures. But the simpler way civilly to go after the YouTubers doing this is either an intentional infliction of emotional distress or a negligent infliction of emotional distress. And in order to do that, you have to reasonably believe or know that what you do is going to cause emotional distress. And I've heard some YouTubers say it's in the name of science. We can be detached and look at this stuff. Some people enjoy looking at it and we learn from it. And you know what? That could hit close to home, because a lot of what we do on this channel is educational. We learn about the law. We learn about the rules. We learn about the justice system, the court system, lawyers, judges. We answer a lot of questions. So I get it. I get educational purposes. I live my whole life fighting for people in miserably sad situations. I make my money off of other people's tragedies in their life. Every wrongful death case, every fatality as a result of a trucking accident, every car accident that maims someone, and they call me to represent them. Sure, somebody could say you're profiting off of their injuries, you're profiting off of their death. And I would explain it as, I'm helping people in the most miserable situation they could ever be in. I hope I'm providing a service that they need, and they literally couldn't do it on their own. They need a lawyer to guide them through the process to make sure their rights are protected. So sure, I get it. I get how people can point the finger around and other people can try to explain something the same way in the name of science, looking at these photos. I get it. However, lines must be drawn, and lines have been drawn. The legislature in Florida, when they wrote this law and explained why autopsy photos should not be included in public records requests, is because they know it's a guaranteed fact that these pictures getting out will cause the family members and friends trauma, emotional distress, humiliation, re-victimization, irreparable harm. It is literally in black and white in the legislative intent. We do not have to guess. We do not have to figure it out. We know this is going to cause them harm. It is not helping the victims at all. It is nothing like, guess what? Doctors also profit off of injuries, right? Firemen profit off of fires. Reporters and journalists, they profit off of the stories they tell. It's their job. It's what they do. Hopefully we can see the difference in that and what these people are doing. And it's almost as if we don't remember the not so distant past when dealing with Kobe Bryant and his family and what they went through when those pictures were sent out, and the millions of dollars of damages a jury found that caused. We know this. This is potentially a per se civil case, which means you violate a law, you are per se negligent or per se liable for what you did. And this came to light back in the day when Bob Saget passed away and they were trying to sell his picture or promote his picture. His family pushed to get this exception, and it happened. It's happened to celebrities in the past. Again, Corey Richins, it's happening right now. There are going to be bad apples and evil people trying to profit off of this stuff. And it's just like, as the true crime or legal or whatever community we are, right? People who share interests and talk about this stuff and try to learn from it, we must not take part in this, because this is how it all goes away. Just like I said, this is how cameras go away in the courtroom. This is how microphones go away in the courtroom. This is how access goes away when you abuse it, when they give an inch and you take a mile. So I really think we need to be careful of that. And I think it's just really important for us to have these discussions, to understand the process, and hope we can do better in the future. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think. And if people were asking these questions, because a lot of people were asking for, how is this possible? How is this not illegal? Why doesn't Florida have a law like this? If people have those questions, share this video with them so we can get that question answered, and people can come together and figure out how this happened with the laws in place and what are we going to do about it? That's another question. What are we going to do about it? All right. That's all I've got. Appreciate everybody joining me. I'm out of here. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok at Tragos Law is our handle. And don't forget to listen to The Lawyer You Know podcast featuring new episodes every week. If you have a case you want to talk to us about, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com. And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode. So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, The Lawyer You Know.